President Donald Trump's nominee for the Supreme Court, Neil Gorsuch, goes before lawmakers for the first time on Monday. He'll be appearing before the Senate Judiciary Committee, which is just the first step in his confirmation process. Gorsuch, a 49-year-old federal appellate judge, comes from Colorado. He's considered a staunch conservative. He was nominated by President Trump to fill the seat left vacant by Justice Antonin Scalia, who died more than a year ago. So exactly what can we expect from the confirmation process as it unfolds? Ilya Shapiro is a senior fellow at the libertarian think tank, the Cato Institute, where he serves as editor-in-chief of the Cato Supreme Court Review. Thank you for joining us, Ilya.
Good to be on. Big week ahead.
Thank you very much. And so many people just might not understand the confirmation process. Can you walk us through this? What should we expect?
Right. So Monday will be opening statements from both the senators and the nominee, Judge Gorsuch. And then Tuesday and Wednesday, the senators on the Judiciary Committee will take turns questioning him. And they'll probably have at least 2, sometimes 3 rounds of questions that'll roll through Wednesday. And then on Thursday, he'll likely be excused, and they'll have panels of witnesses who know him and know his jurisprudence testifying in favor and against.
So he was nominated to fill the justice seat that Antonin Scalia left behind. Is there a way to tell what his interpretation of the court might be when you compare it with Antonin Scalia?
Well, one thing that we know is that President Trump said that he wanted to pick someone who was very much in line with Justice Scalia. And by all accounts, we have over a decade of his opinions from the 10th Circuit. He's been a federal judge for that long. So we can tell about many things. And indeed, he is like Scalia in terms of originalism, reading the provisions of the Constitution as they, based on what they meant when they were ratified, and textualism in terms of reading federal statutes based on the text rather than trying to divine some sort of congressional intent. But he doesn't have the abrasive edges that Scalia did. He's very collegial, doesn't put off people. Definitely has the intellectual rigor, the scholarly appeal. He's a PhD in legal philosophy, after all, from Oxford. So in my view, he's actually better than Scalia.
Oh, that's so interesting to hear you say. You wrote an article, What to Ask Neil Gorsuch at his confirmation hearing. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so the last couple of decades, confirmation hearings have become farcical, really. The senators from the party of the nominee or of the president that made the nomination ask softball questions, you know, what's your favorite baseball team, that sort of thing. And the opposing senators from the other party try to raise gotcha questions, you know, when did you stop beating your wife, that sort of thing. And it's really, maybe it's good for fundraising letters for both parties, but it doesn't educate the public. And this is such a seminal moment, the only time where a nominee goes toe-to-toe with the people's representatives who are accounted to the people for a lifetime position, after all. So I think they really ought to ask serious questions about legal principles and jurisprudence, not how would you rule in the next abortion case or campaign finance case or what have you, but really philosophical things. How do courts protect unenumerated rights? Do you think a particular case was decided correctly or not? You say that you're originalist. What happens when the original meaning conflicts with long-stated precedent? When should you overturn precedent rather than not? These types of questions.
You know, Democrats, Ilya, really haven't been that vocal in their opposition. Do you think he's going to make it through any Democratic opposition?
Well, he's been his charming and disarming self since he was nominated. He's met with most senators. I think it's approaching 75 or so. And I think his chances of being confirmed are only higher than when he was nominated at the end of January. He really hasn't done or said anything. Nothing's come out that would be especially red meat for the opposition. Certainly, activist groups on the left are going to try to glom on to his opinions regarding the Obamacare contraceptive mandate, say, certain other things, or even raise up the issue of Merrick Garland, and shouldn't President Obama have really gotten to fill that seat? But ultimately, that was litigated during the election. I don't know whether Minority Leader Chuck Schumer is going to have the votes to sustain a filibuster, meaning a requirement of 60 votes to proceed on the nomination vote, given that 10 Democratic senators are up for re-election next year in states that Trump won. And then, of course, if they even try to filibuster, Mitch McConnell is likely going to try to remove the filibuster requirement. But that's all getting into the weeds. I think he's about as relatively uncontroversial a candidate as one could get that satisfies all the major right of center constituencies, whether social conservative, libertarian, establishment, or anything else.
It's likely Gorsuch will get some questions on the travel ban. He came out against President Trump's criticism of the Ninth Circuit Court. How do you think he's going to navigate these waters in the confirmation hearing next week?
Well, a question like that is very easy for a nominee to answer because that's a pending matter, and it's rightful that any nominee doesn't express an opinion on a case that could come before him still. So unlike these other things that I've mentioned, broader philosophical principles or cases that were decided long in the past, if he's asked about the travel ban or any other conceivable thing that's coming out of Trump's early presidency, I think he's fully justified in saying I can't answer that.
Ilya Shapiro. Thank you, Ilya.
My pleasure.